Abraham, originally known as Abram, is a significant figure in the three major monotheistic religions: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. In the Christian and Jewish traditions, he is considered the patriarch of the Israelites through his son Isaac, born to his wife Sarah. In Islamic tradition, he is an important prophet, and his son Ishmael, born to his concubine Hagar, is seen as the ancestor of the Arab tribes. Abraham had 2 wives concubines, according to biblical accounts, and a wife according to Quran. His principal wife was Sarah. According to the book of Genesis, she was initially barren and subsequently offered her Egyptian servant, Hagar, to her husband to bear a child on her behalf. Hence, his second wife or concubine was Hagar, from whom he bore his first son, Ishmael. Later, Sarah too bore a son, Isaac, in her old age after a divine promise. After Sarah's death, he took another wife, Keturah, Genesis 25:1, who bore him several other children. The practice of polygamy and concubinage in Abraham's time was often linked to societal, economic, and survival reasons. In an era lacking reliable birth control and the high child mortality rate, a larger family ensured survival of the lineage. Moreover, barrenness was a significant concern, and achievable solutions were through concubines or secondary wives, as in the case of Sarah and Hagar. Women's status and worth were also tied to their fertility, with more wives symbolizing higher status and wealth. Hence, polygamy and concubinage in that era was a culturally and socially acceptable practice, and the biblical story of Abraham needs to be understood within that historical context. Abraham's first and principal wife was Sarah. Sarah was barren for many years, which was a significant social stigma at the time. In an attempt to fulfill the promise God had made about Abraham becoming the father of many nations, Sarah offered her Egyptian maidservant, Hagar, to Abraham to bear a child on her behalf. This was a common practice in their culture when a wife could not conceive. Years later, God fulfilled his promise, and Sarah gave birth to Isaac at a very old age. After Sarah's death, Abraham married Keturah, who bore him 6 more sons, although the circumstances of this union are less detailed in the Bible. Genesis 25:1-2. God's promise of numerous descendants drove Abraham's marriages, but multiple wives created family strife and complicated God's plan. The introduction of multiple wives in Abraham's life led to immediate and lasting conflict. Hagar's son Ishmael was seen as a threat by Sarah, which led to Hagar and Ishmael's expulsion. This created a rift that is seen as foundational to the long-standing tensions between their descendants. Isaac and his sons, being direct ancestors of the Jewish people, carried the legacy of the covenant, while Ishmael's lineage is traditionally linked to Arab nations. These familial relationships have had far-reaching implications for the history of the region and the unfolding of God's plan, including within the context of Christianity, which sees Abraham as a spiritual forefather. The biblical account of Abraham's marriages serves as a complex narrative that explores faith, obedience, and the consequences of human actions. While polygamy was culturally acceptable and practiced in Abraham's time, it is presented with the frank acknowledgement of the strife and challenges it brought to family dynamics. In later biblical texts, monogamy becomes a prevailing ideal, especially in the teachings of Jesus and Paul in the New Testament. These indicate a move towards a single, committed relationship as the cornerstone of family life, aligning with the principles of love, faithfulness, and unity central to Christian teachings.